Hello and welcome to Round Robin. I'm your host, Robin McCormick, with the City of Hampton's Communications and Marketing Department. And today we're going to talk a little bit about lawns, lawn care, and how to be more environmentally conscious when we take care of our lawns. My guest today is Megan Tierney with the Virginia Cooperative Extension Service. Welcome, Megan.
Thank you.
It's good to have you back.
Thank you very much for having me.
Now, we're taping this in the fall, but because lawns are such an important topic for people and there's year-round issues, we're going to talk first, if it's okay, about what we should be doing in the fall and then other times of year to help take care of our turf.
Yeah. Actually, fall is the best time to take care of your turf if you have a fescue lawn. That's the type that stays green year-round.
Mm-hmm. And really, if we don't know, and would you say most people in Hampton do have that fescue, especially if they're in an older neighborhood?
Mm-hmm. They do. If your turf turns yellow-brown during the winter and looks dead, it's actually dormant, then you would have a summer grass. That wouldn't be a fescue.
Okay.
So otherwise you have a fescue lawn, and you should be doing everything in the fall pretty much as far as fertilization, as far as seeding or reseeding. If you have the summer turf, you actually do those things in the spring.
Okay, but for most of us, particularly those of us who, bought a house, inherited a lawn, don't quite know what's out there, it's probably what isn't weeds, in my yard at least, what isn't weeds is likely to be fescue. Yeah. So what should I be doing?
Number one, soil testing, because our area is very acidic and turf does not do well at a pH of below 6. When you get into 5.5, it's too acidic. The pine trees, things like that around here.
Pines, okay.
Yeah, natively we are an acidic soil, and it's not native for turf. So if you want to have good turf, you need to know your pH, and you need to change it to the environment that your turf likes, around 6.5. And that requires lime usually in our area. Unless you've been liming every year without testing your soil, then you can actually make it go the opposite way, and that can cause a problem as well if it becomes too alkaline. So that's the most important thing.
Okay.
And then having a little bit of organic matter in your soil makes a big difference as well for the seed to grow. So doing those things first in preparation before you seed is very important. And then seeding in the fall is very important as well, because you want that turf, that baby grass, say simply baby grass, to have a good root system before the summer. And if you start it in the spring, you don't have as much time during the winter for it to be growing roots.
Before you hit that super hot and dry weather.
Right, and fescue is actively growing during the winter, and not top growth like you would see during the rest of the year, but the roots are establishing themselves still. So that gives it that time period to get well established.
Okay.
And fertilization, you want to do a fertilizer when you first put down seed. You put a starter fertilizer, which has a small middle number. And you have the 3 numbers on your fertilizer, the nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium.
Okay.
Your first number kind of does top growth. So you don't want too much of that when turf is actively growing in the spring. So you remember that. So you want to do that more in the fall time. The middle number promotes rooting and also a little bit of winter hardiness. So you want to have a very small middle number.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's phosphorus, and that's what's in our waterways, and that's one of our issues that we're having. We actually usually have enough phosphorus in our soils here that you don't need to add that to fertilizer.
Oh, okay.
So when you soil test, you find out whether you do really need it or not. Instead of just putting down a 10-10-10, a lot of the fertilizers are coming out with a 0 as a middle number, so you can avoid that and be a little more environmentally conscious.
Oh, that's great.
So
okay.
Definitely. And the last number, I'm sorry, I said the cold hardiness part. That's not the middle number, that's the last number.
Okay.
The potassium, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. And that helps with the cold hardiness. So you want a little bit of that in your fertilizer. So when you seed, use a starter fertilizer. But in the fall, if you already have seed and it's well established, then you want to add a fertilizer based on a soil test, what recommendation it gives you. Because you may not need fertilizer at all. And that's wasting money and the environment as far as runoff.
And so how do people get a soil test? Because that's something your office does, right? Okay.
Yeah. We have soil test kits in our office, and we also keep some at the library in downtown Hampton. And you can just pick one of those up, and you just take the portion of your yard that you want to test for, whether it be turf or your landscape areas or a vegetable garden. And you will do you'll cut little holes in the soil and you'll bring out the bottom part of it. You don't take the top where the turf is growing.
Right.
And you put it in a little box and you mix it up from different areas so that you get an overall general
but it should
analysis.
be all the grass or all the
All turf
rose bed
area.
or whatever, so that you can recommend what it needs to be, what needs to be added. Okay.
Correct. Yeah, you actually will check a box and you'll let them know whether you have a fescue type lawn or you have the summer type lawn like a zoysia or a Bermuda, or it's a vegetable garden. And they'll give you recommendations based on what that plant
The uses.
needs.
Right. Okay.
Right.
And so now would be a good time to do that. How long does that take?
Soil testing usually takes about a week to get the answer back, and now they can send it back to you via email. There's
that
a spot
speeds
for that.
things up. Okay.
I always get a copy of it. Well, not a copy. I actually have access to the database, so I can look it up. So if you have any problems reading the analysis on there, if it looks like a big jumble mess and you don't understand it, you can call me over the phone. I can sit there, look at it on my computer, and give you advice.
Okay.
So
Okay, in the fall, feed and seed, basically. What do you do in the spring?
in the spring, if you've already established your seed,
Which hopefully we have.
hopefully you have. Hopefully you're not seeding in the spring, because if you do, you're probably going to lose it in the summer. You actually don't need to fertilize in the spring.
Okay. I think most people think they do. They think,
Yeah.
oh, things are starting to green up, I need to feed that lawn.
Yeah, and advertising will tell you fertilize in the spring if you have a fescue, but we're looking at scientifically based what the plant needs, and it does not need that fertilizer in the spring. And there's a large connection between if you fertilize in the spring and getting brown patch in the summer, because we're so humid here. Our climate's different than up north, and they don't get as much brown patch up there. But it's highly connected scientifically, So you avoid some diseases and insect problems because you're not creating more of an environment of grow yourself to death, basically. Keep growing while we keep cutting.
Right.
Yeah, it's already quite actively growing in the spring.
Okay. What about weed control? What do you do for, what do you recommend for that?
If you're having a problem with weeds, a lot of times it may be your pH. So if you've already soil tested, you will know about your pH and you can adjust that. A lot of times that will get rid of some of your weed problems. But other weed problems after the fact, you can get a weed and feed type fertilizer that has a selective herbicide in it. Basically, it's a chemical that will kill off the weed that's growing without killing the turf. So it's called selective. It works on the different system of monocot, dicot, and back
Things
to biology.
I would not understand.
Back to biology, we won't go there.
That's what you're for. And now, speaking of which, your office provides homeowners with a lot of information about. So if I were motivated to have a better yard, which I basically just want it to not die, but if I wanted to learn more, you offer some programs to help teach people.
Absolutely. They can call in, they can actually email me as well, and I can give them information that way. We have a database that's open to the public at the Virginia Cooperative Extension website. You just go to that, you can Google Virginia Cooperative Extension and go to publications and resources, and it actually has everything you could possibly want to know on there. It's a great tool. And beyond that, we have classes that we offer. We'll be offering classes every year, starting this year, with as far as turf and soil, that will be one class, and then shrubs and trees will be the second class. And then the third class will be landscape design and maintenance.
Ooh, that's nice.
And we'll be giving a lucky homeowner a free consultation in design with that class. So we do that, it's open to the public, free.
That's wonderful. Okay, you mentioned shrubs and trees, and it is my impression also that in Hampton, you want to plant those in the fall as well. Is that generally true?
Generally, that is true. Same reason with the turf as far as getting a root system before the summer. The summer's your issue.
It just gets so dry and so hot here that they can't establish. Okay.
And a lot of people don't realize you still have to water during the winter when you put new trees and shrubs in. They can actually get dried out. And then that first summer is crucial. You get it through the first summer, then you shouldn't have to water much after that if you've put the right plant in the right place.
And that's one of the things you will teach people in this, because landscape design isn't just pretty, it's also what the conditions are, what you have, what works in that place, and how much care you're going to take of it.
Absolutely.
There are plants that require a whole lot more effort than others.
And there's cheap plants that will get really big really fast, and you think, oh great, I love this, but that Leland cypress you planted near your house gets 30-foot tall.
I just had to take out some holly in front of my house because it had gotten, I have an older home, and it had just gotten too big for the amount of space.
Yeah.
So yeah, you do have to be careful.
And homeowners, if you tend to shear things off a lot, eventually all the growth is on those outer edges, and the inside of the shrubs just get empty and ugly. And you get disease in there because there's no air movement inside. So you have to do a lot of renovation pruning too. That we can teach as well. We have all those kind of tips.
That's great. Okay, so one of the main things you do in your office is plants. Do you educate people, help people with questions, plants, pests, all that sort of stuff. But you recently won an award for water quality education. Tell us about that.
Yes, I sure did. With the Clean City Commission, it's the, actually 2 years ago I won the Environmental Excellence Award. It's a lifetime award called the Mary Jo Hogg Award.
You are too young to have won a lifetime award, Megan. You've done a lot.
Yeah, that was quite a feat. That was a great surprise. So that was called the Mary Jo Hogg Award, and it was named after a woman that was with the Clean City Commission for years and advocated environmental education in water quality. And this year I won the Clean City Water Quality Award. So
what did you do to earn that honor?
Education I've been doing through Cooperative Extension, and also on the side in my personal life as well. I'm a sailor. I love sailing. I've sailed since I was at Christopher Newport for my undergraduate degree.
Oh, really?
So yeah, I raced sailboats for quite a few years, and I teach water quality and oyster gardening and annoy a lot of the people at the Hampton Yacht Club.
I'm sure they like it.
Yeah, but beyond that, we do water quality teaching and after-school programs. I did a class where we actually brought in water from local waterways, and we let the kids do pH, dissolved oxygen, percent saturation, and talked about, well, how do you think a fish would do in this type of water? This is what they need. This is what we found. Does it match up? Just kind of get them thinking about water quality and their everyday life, and things you don't think about, like how much turf you have. Turf is pervious, but water runs off very quickly. So fertilizers and chemicals.
Now, why is that? Just because the roots are so thick, or it just doesn't have enough?
It doesn't have enough, it doesn't catch anything. Well, I shouldn't say it doesn't catch anything, it catches some.
Doesn't catch as much as.
Yeah, if you think about a shrub is going to slow the water down as it hits it. Trees are the start.
Because it will absorb a lot in the leaves, and it will sit there and trickle through.
Right, so you have a buffer zone is ultimately what you want to have. You want to have your trees, you want to have your shrubs underneath, and then you can have turf beyond that. But the trees slow the water down, and then the shrubs slow it even more. And they absorb the water into, like a filter, into the ground, and they clean it up. Well, when you have turf, not as much goes in, a lot of it rolls off and goes on. Not as much as, say, pavement, so it's better than having pavement, but the more shrubs and trees you have, the better water quality you're gonna have for your particular area. And the homeowner per square foot uses more chemical than the farmer per square foot.
Really?
That's an amazing number to think about. Think about the farmer with the spray apparatus going out there on the field, but we as homeowners per square foot technically use more.
Well, I imagine a lot of that too is that we're not as educated, and most of us don't do the soil test. Most of us buy the product, put it on, and hope for the best. And a farmer, because the costs are so extensive with it, they're a little more scientific about how that happens. So you're going to help us be more scientific, which will save us money and help the water quality.
Absolutely.
And probably make our yards better than if we just buy something off the shelf and throw it on and cross our fingers.
Absolutely.
Megan, is there anything else you want to add today about how to get in touch with you or any other services you offer?
Okay, feel free to contact me. My email address is megank, MEGANK, @vt.edu. You can also call the office at 757-727-1401. And just one more event that we do have, we have the Environmental Summit, Hampton Environmental Summit, Keeping the Crab in Crabtown.
I love that title, by the way.
Hampton, Crabtown.
I know.
We're going back to our roots. It will be in the spring this year, and we're going to have it at Sandy Bottom Nature Park.
Spring is a good time. People are thinking about that. You've got that Earth Day tie-in, you know, whether it's on that day or just in the neighborhood of spring.
And we pushed it forward so that teachers could come to it, and we're going to try to make sure we can get teachers credit for it as far as continuing education. Yeah.
Well, that's wonderful, and thank you. And I do also want to remind people that you let us know whenever you have a program going on, and we include it in the e-news that we send out. We send out a calendar of events once a week and just a general news story once a week. And so people who want to know when these things are coming up can go to hampton.gov/e-news and sign up to get the e-news, and then you will be sure not to miss any of Megan's classes. So thank you very much for coming by today. I hope it will inspire me to be a slightly better person and do that soil test that I've been talking about for years, and try to be a little more careful when I go out to try to feed and seed my lawn. And thank you for watching this episode of Round Robin.